My name is Matt Loomis, and I am a judo instructor. And I have known Grandmaster Cook for about a little more than a decade. And I met him through my instructor, Carl Brown, and they've known each other forever. And we started to teach out of Grandmaster Cook's school on Bardstown Road. And I had always heard about the guy because he's kind of well, certainly he's a local legend, and he lived right around the corner from me, and I'd never really met him. And then I remember one of his students was a friend of mine. We used to work in a bar together, and I was in there one afternoon talking with Jerry, and I said, you know, Jerry, I was watching this video yesterday, and it was Bruce Lee demonstrating the one-inch punch. And I got to be frank, man, that seems like BS to me. I said, do you know how to do the one-inch punch? He says, well, kind of. You know, it's basically a Wing Chun punch, but, you know, I'm not that great at it, but Grandmaster Cook is pretty great at it. Grandmaster Cook happened to be in his office, and his office was kind of it was a weird space. The front room was it was a storefront on Bardstown Road, and then you kind of went down about 3 stairs, and then there was a smaller room, and kind of off to the side was GMC's office. And he had a tapestry hanging over the door, and he just smoked constantly. So the room it's sort of like walking into a bar at 4 in the morning. So we kind of crawl in there into his office, and Jerry is he's very proper. He starts bowing and says, Grandmaster, Matt was asking about the one-inch punch, and I wonder, you know, would you grace us with a demonstration? And he says, oh, sure, no problem. He says, Brother Jerry, go over there and get a few of those phone books. So Jerry goes and gets some phone books. And Grandmaster Cook uses the phone books the way that a lot of the Japanese guys use makiwara boards because they punch a lot actually on each other's body. So you'd hold the phone books down here over your stomach, and then they could punch that and not rupture your spleen or whatever. But so he gives me 2 phone books, and I'm holding them, and I'm holding them wrong with my fingers down in front. And Jerry says, "Oh, you got to move your hand up here." He's going to bust you in the finger. So I head it up here. He says, "All right, drop it down lower. I don't want to hit you in the heart." And I'm thinking, come on, this is just preposterous. So anyway, I'm holding the thing down here on my stomach, and Jerry kind of runs around behind me, and he puts his hands on my shoulders, and Jerry's a pretty big guy too, and he's kind of bracing himself behind me, and I'm thinking, look, come on, you don't need to do all this. I weigh 260 pounds, he's not going to knock me through the wall or anything. Well, so Grandmaster walks up, and he puts his fingers on the phone book like this, and then he collapses his fist so he's about probably a ½ inch from the phone books. He says, all right, you ready? I said, sure, I'm ready. Says, Brother Jerry, you ready? And Jerry says, oh, I'm ready, and he's pushing into me. He says, okay, here we go. And man, I'm telling you, I have actually been hit by a car, and it did not hit me that hard. I've been doing judo for a while, and in judo we throw each other onto the ground from shoulder height on a very regular basis. And this was, honestly, I thought I was going to lose control of my balance. He hit me very, very hard. And sure as shooting, he never moved even an inch away from me. And that was kind of the first time that I had really interacted with him much. And from that moment forward, he and I was teaching at his school, and then later we became partners at this facility. And not only is the guy a wealth of information. In fact, somebody said at the funeral this morning that losing Henry was like a library burning down, and I think that's a very apt description. But not only was he a wealth of information on all things martial arts, but he has been my mentor with being an instructor and with running a school, and he has always been there as a sounding board for my ideas. And in fact, today I was kind of trying to write a eulogy for him, and I came up with this big flowery metaphor about yin and yang and the dragon and the tiger, and you know, the dragon symbolizes light and the heavens, and the dragon is earth and the body and all that. And I got about a third of the way through it, and it occurred to me that normally this is when I would call him to fact check me on whether or not my interpretation of Asian philosophy has any connection with reality, or if I'm just, you know, spinning a yarn. And that sort of thing is one of the main things I'm going to miss, because he would drop whatever he was doing to talk to you. He would help you out. If he said he had your back, he meant that to death. And it's like losing a father, really. He really was a strong man, and really cared about his community. And he just, we're never going to fill that hole. And I hope that we can all just get together and celebrate his memory, and try and write down everything that he told us, and even the stuff that didn't make sense, so maybe later when we're better it'll make sense. But yeah, miss you, Henry.
I was a law enforcement instructor for years at the county jail. I was instrumental in getting the correctional academy going. I was in class #1 myself, and Henry had not got into law enforcement, but he was doing the Nighthawk thing. I don't know if you've had anybody talk about the Nighthawks, but anyway, you get somebody to talk about the Nighthawks, you got another story. But anyway, Henry would come when I come back in town. If they didn't send me away to train somewhere in Texas, or send me to Virginia or somewhere to train, Henry would come to test the techniques that I had been taught, and he would surprise me. In other words, instead of going down to the gym and getting undressed and do that, Henry just popped in my office there at the county jail, and I was up on the first floor with the director's office and all the assistant directors, where the training office was. And Henry just walked in, and so he said, "Show me what you know." And before I know it, Henry is coming at me, and I'm trying to use the tactics that I've got. I don't know how many times he told my office up there. The director at that time, by the name of Richard Fry, I think he almost shot Cook 2 times because he thought we were really fighting. And that's when Director Fry realized that training from real people was different than training with people who would go through their programs. But Cook used to snatch me across my desk. He snatched me out on the table. He would snatch me out of my car. I mean, he did everything. Everything that I had learned, and to teach police and corrections, not to let it be done to them. Cook showed me how to make it better. And with Master Cook's training and blocks and Wing Chun and all that stuff he used to put us to, it helped. And it also humbled me to the point where, instead of getting in the middle of something, you take your time and get into the middle of it and get out of it quick. But we used to go down and train Wing Chun with Henry. Would go to class at 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning. And guess what time we got out of class with him? 12 o'clock at night. We would forget that we would actually be in class. We trained so hard. We didn't get hungry. We drank water. That was about it. But we go train and train and train and train. And today, I saw some of those old guys that we used to train. Cook he was famous for putting you in the middle of a fight and let you fight 4 or 5 people. And for students that never had that opportunity to stand on the middle of with Henry Cook and Big Bobby and some of the other guys, I can't remember their names, but these guys would be throwing punches. I'm not talking about light punches. They'd be throwing punches, and you had to stand, you had to endure. You had to put something into it, put something back, give something back, and it was rough, but it was good training, and it was humbling to learn Wing Chun with Cook and be a friend. And all my life has been the same with Cook until recently. He would call, we talk about tactics and training techniques, and touchy hands and sticky hands, and I can't think what he called that, his training where he just used the nerves. We called it chi na back in the day, but Cook put something else with it, and it was nonsense stuff, just not doing a whole lot of stuff, just doing a minimum effort to get a maximum efficiency out of it, and he did a lot of that. I mean, I'll miss my friend, and I'll miss his calls, and I just, today was just kind of hard seeing him there. And but we had a meeting a couple months ago, 6 months, 8 months ago. We had a meeting about a book we was trying to put together, and we were all just happy and talking about it. And one of the things that brought out is that, you know, we need to keep contact and be friends and share what we had and what we have. We have no idea what the next day is going to bring.
Henry Cook was the greatest martial artist I've ever known. I've known many. It said in the Bible that Jesus remarked that a prophet hath no honor in his own country. And I'm afraid that's what's happened here. In Louisville, Kentucky, he's well known in the martial arts community, but he's also well known around the world. Henry Cook taught self-defense and offense methods to the Japanese police. He's a household name in the San Diego Police Department. He's taught in Norway. He is probably, with his 7 black belts, the best rounded martial artist I know. And he started his out in judo. I stayed with judo exclusively. He went on to achieve rank in many arts. Many times in the Black Belt Hall of Fame, and had just been promoted to the Black Belt Martial Arts Heroes. There's a story told of a rat epidemic in Tokyo, and it's his legend. So the martial arts senseis of Japan gathered in Tokyo to decide how to handle this problem. And the Shotokan karate instructor said, I have a cat. My cat is strong, is fast. This cat can kill any rat. Even this leader of this gang of rats that are plaguing Tokyo. So the time came, they located where the hole was, where the king rat lived, and the Shotokan karate cat marched up and down this room and doing katas and just wore himself out, fell asleep. King rat comes out of the hole and continues to chew up the mats, to eat the food, to leave rat droppings. So the senseis gathered again. The Aikido master said, I have a cat. The cat failed. Jiu-jitsu master, ninjutsu masters, they all gathered every week to this alarming problem. One by one, for different reasons, their cats were defeated. But the judo sensei had sat quietly through all of this, and he said, I have a cat. In fact, I brought him with me. He reaches down and picks up this big, fat cat. The cat was asleep in his arms, and he said, my cat perhaps can solve this problem. And the other senseis nodded to one another and said, well, okay, we'll give it a try. The big fat judo cat just went and lay on the mat, not far from the hole, and just sprawled out and went to sleep. And the king rat, head of the rat epidemic in ancient Edo or Tokyo, was infuriated. What are they doing? I've defeated the Shotokan karate cat, the Aikido cat, the ninjutsu cat even, and they send this big fat cat out to take me down, and he just starts walking out arrogantly. And then we got close enough, the judo cat went and captured and killed him, and the rat epidemic left. All the judo, karate, ninjutsu, jiu-jitsu cats in Tokyo held a great banquet to honor this big fat judo cat. And this is what the judo cat said. He lumbers to the podium and he says, you honor me. Had but my master, my teacher cat, merely mention of his name, all the rats would have fled Tokyo and drowned themselves, thankfully, in the sea at the mere mention of his name. So it is with Henry Cook. I was once surrounded by a gang of black teenagers when I was jogging in the West End, and I said, it looks like we're going to have a little dance here, boys, but before we fight, I asked you 2 questions. And they said, what's that? I said, do you know who Henry Cook is? And oh yeah, he's a bad kung fu mofo. I said, well, I taught him judo in 63, 65, and it got their attention. I asked them the second question. Well, guys like to party Friday night. Everything went fine. But the mere mention of his name stopped that little gang. The mere mention of Henry Cook's name in many circles of our inner city can stop violence. There was once known a corner named Cook's Corner. In Cook's Corner there was no drug activity, there was no violence, and he formed the Nighthawks. The Nighthawks were based roughly, I believe they actually predated the Guardian Angels of New York City, and they were a crowd patrol outfit, black berets, walkie-talkies. And while that was a viable institution, and while the people of this town, through the agencies, were willing to fund it, crime went down in our most troubled areas. So as far as Henry Cook goes, I can only say that he was a man among men, and he was a great light that Louisville lost even as he gained national prominence with the NCAA championship basketball the same month. Louisville, Kentucky lost a great light. And so did our world.